Hello, let's get on the tasks. So today we'll work on some problems. The first task is to write a program that receives a number from the console and checks if the number is greater than 0. Okay. So let's create a new package. Let's say homework. And let's create a new class. Let's call it, I don't know, test. So if the number is greater than 0, if the number is less than 0, and if it equals to 0. Okay. So let's create a main method, and so we want to write a program that receives. So we'll have a scanner here. So scanner, say scanner, keyword new to call constructor scanner. System in. Okay. So let's create a variable int, the data type int, and call it num, which accepts the input from the user. So scanner dot next integer. Okay, and let's print out some message here. So system out print line, say enter some number. And to make it look nicer, let's remove the ln to print out it on the same line and accept the input on the same line. You can use the keyword print. Okay, so let's imagine we accepted some values here. Let it be 5, and we write an if statement. So we want to print out if the number is greater than 0, we'll print the number is positive. If it's less than 0, we'll print out negative, and if it's 0, the number is equal to 0. Okay, so if number is greater than 0, then we'll print out positive. Else if number is less than 0, we will print out negative. And else let it look nicer. This looks better. And else we'll print out the number equals to 0. So if is an operator that checks the condition, and if the condition is met, so if the number is greater than 0, then the following will be executed. If not, this block will be skipped, and then here the condition will be checked. If it's less than 0, then this block of code will be executed. So this is like a code block. There's a line. It will be executed, and if none of this meets the conditions, then they both will be ignored, and the else part will be executed. So this is called else. This is called if-else conditional statement. So let's go and run this and check. Let's say 3. You can see it's positive. So let's go and run it again. Let's say -1, negative, and if it's 0, it says the number equals to 0. So simple as that. Now the next one, it says let's create a program that takes two numbers and prints the largest of them. Okay. So let's write a static method here. Public static void max. Let's say find max. So it takes two numbers. It takes two numbers and prints the largest of them. So let the numbers be parameters. So let us write some parameters: integer a, integer b. And to check if two numbers, and to find out the maximum number, we can easily use the if statement here. So initially we can declare a variable here, integer max, and assign b to the max, and we will check in case if a is greater than b, then max will be a, and we will return max value. Actually, we can print out directly the maximum. So how does this work? This static method, accepts two arguments, so it has two parameters here. In the main function we can call this method and pass in two arguments. So to call this method we can write find max, and let's say 23 and 34. So here we declared a variable max and assigned b to to the max. So the max by default is B. So the condition if checks if A is greater than B, it assigns A to the max variable, so the A becomes max. If not, this block of code is ignored, and by default B is the maximum, so the maximum will print it here. So let's go and check this. So the maximum should be 34. So here we can see 34 is the maximum, so it's correct. Let's comment this and let's go to the next task. So here we have write a program that takes a score 1 to 5 from the console and prints 5 excellent, 4 good, 3 satisfactory, 2 or 1 unsatisfactory. So again, it's an if-else task. So how do we call the method? Let's say public static void let's say grade. Okay, let's say grade. It accepts some parameters, so it accepts a number, and here we have our if condition. If the number is equal to 5, then we'll print out excellent, and now I will copy it. So if the number is 4, then we will print out good. And if 3 is satisfactory and 2 or 1 unsatisfactory. So 3 satisfactory, 2 or 1 if number is 2, or we can use here these symbols. Number is equal to 1. Print unsatisfactory. Unsatisfactory. Okay. Now let's call this method. Great. What will happen if we try to pass something else like 7? Let's check. Nothing, because we didn't specify here the else block. So let's write else choose between 1 and 5. Okay, let's say 5. We can see here that both of these are executed. Let's go and remove this. So how does this work? How does this program work? So here we have a method grade that has a parameter number. We pass it from the main method, and it checks. So first it comes to this block to this if block and checks the condition. Condition is an expression that is checked for truth or falsity, and so in this case, if we pass 5, then 5 will be equal to 5. So this operator means it checks if the number is equal to 5. So 5 is equal to 5, meaning this block of code will be executed and the rest will be ignored. So it will execute this block of code and exit from the method. Let's say if we say 2, then the same logic here. It will come again to the first block. It will check if the number is equal to 5. If no, it will skip this line and go to the next line. It will check if 2 is equal to 4. No. Again goes to the third block and checks the condition. 2 does not equal to 3, so it skips it again and comes here and checks. So 2 is equal to 2. Okay. It's true, so then it goes and prints the message. The same if we say 1, it will again come to do the same steps, and when it comes to the last block, it will check. So 1, it doesn't equal to 2. Okay, then we have this, means or 1 is equal to 1. So either one of these expressions, either one of these conditions should be met in order for this block of code to be executed. So 1 is equal to 1, so the condition is met, it's true, and this block of code, this message is printed out. Okay. Now let's go to the switch tasks. We're asked to implement a program that accepts the day of the week, a number from 1 to 7 from the console, and outputs the name of the day. Okay. So let's create a method, public static void day of the week. Just let's say day of week. Remember to use a camel case here. So it accepts it as a parameter. It's a day, and now we want to switch that day to the day of the week and print out the message. So let's go and do that. So switch day curly braces case 1. System out print line Monday. So the first of the week, the first day of the week is Monday. Then we use break here, a keyword break to separate the cases from each other. Case 2 for Tuesday, again break. Case 3 for Wednesday, again break. Case 4 let me first write all of the cases and then I will explain what I'm doing here. So the same logic. The 5th day of the week is Friday. Again break. Case And the last one for Sunday. And we can also write the default. We forgot break here. Forgot break. And the default. Let's say no such day of the week. All right. So let's go and create a scanner. And let's ask a user to enter a number. Enter a number. Let it be print without ln. We don't want to go into the new line. And here, let's say int number is equal to scanner to accept input from the user. So next integer. Alright. And after that, let's call the method day of the week and pass number to it. Okay, so how does this work? Well, now let's go and run this. And let's say 5. Okay, so it says Friday, we can see here. Why so? So here we have a scanner that allows us to accept input values from the user. The message is printed here, enter the number, and then the value that user enters in the console is assigned to the number, and number is passed to the method day of week. Here we can see the number is switched with the cases we have here, case 1, case 2, case 3, and all of these cases. So basically, switch case, it replaces one of many code blocks. It selects one of many code blocks to be executed depending on the value of the expression. So in this case we said 5, so it checks case 1. So 1 does not equal to 5, 2 does not equal to 5, 3 does not equal to 5, 4 does not equal to 5, and 5. So 5 is equal to 5. Then it executes this block. So it prints out Friday and then breaks. So it means it breaks out of the loop. It breaks out of this block. This, you can see the block is within the curly braces. So if we didn't have this break keyword, then it would execute all the it would execute the rest of the cases. So it would print out Saturday, Sunday, and also the default message as well. But if we set 8, for example, then the default message would be printed. So this message, let's go and check this. Let's say 8. So we can see no such day of the week. Correct. The next task, what do we have? Using enum, so create an enumeration for the planets of the solar system. Okay, let's go and create enum, new enum planets. So it will have 8 values: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Let me just copy all of this and paste it here. Okay, now we're asked to write a program that accepts the name of the planet. So name of the planet, a value from the enumeration, and outputs the planet's ordinal number from the sun, an approximate value of its mass relative to the Earth. Okay. Okay, so let's implement that. So we're asked to write another switch statement, but this time using enum. Okay, so again we're gonna need a scanner to accept the input from the user, but in this time we'll ask the user to enter a planet. So a planet, and it will be a string planet. Next line. Okay, and let's go and write the method. So public static void for now. Let's say print planet. Okay. And in parameters we should specify the enum that we just created. So enum is basically a non-primitive data type. So planets, and the name of the parameter. Let's say planet. Alright, now switch planet, and here we can write case so Mercury, so case Mercury. The purpose of this structure is that we don't have to write a break command here to separate the cases. We don't have to write a break command in this case. So if the case is Mercury, then the message will be printed out, the following message. So system out. So we're asked to write the ordinal number and mass relative to Earth. So let's go with the ordinal. So let's go with just the ordinal number. Let's say ordinal number from the sun. So ordinal number from the sun. So the Mercury is the first planet from the sun. That's why we'll print 1. In case, where's the next planet? Venus. So Venus. Again, we'll print out the ordinal number from the sun, 2. So let me just copy this. So there are 8 planets. Now we can replace Venus with, so the third is Earth. Then comes, I guess, Mars. Yes, Mars. Then Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, Neptune. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And again, let's change the ordinal numbers. So the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7, and the last one is 8. Okay, good. And let's go and call the method. So print planet and pass pass the argument planet. Let's go and run this. So we have an error here. So this should not be a string, this should be planets. Sorry, this cannot be. Okay, to call this method, we can use directly the method itself. So print planet. And pass here. So planets Mercury. Or we could directly use also the scanner, but instead of planet, we should specify planets dot planet. Again, we get an error here. Should be in on. So okay, let's go and comment all of this and call it using so Mercury. Okay, let's call Mercury and see. So So we can see here Mercury, case Mercury is the first one, and the message is printed. Original number from the sun is 1, so correct. Let's say let's go Uranus. So correct. Alright, now we're asked to write a calculator using switch. Let's go and do that. But before that, let me explain how this block of code works. So here we have a static method that has a return type void. So we created enum, so enumerated object with the name planet, and here we specified the values of the enum. So the total values are, so there are 8 planets, and we specified all the possible values of the enum planets, and then we used switch case to switch the name of the planet with the case. So again, we don't use break here because this unique structure allows us to this structure has a built-in break command that allows us to separate the cases between each other. As you saw before, when I called Uranus, it printed out only 7, not 7, 8. Okay, so now let's create a calculator. A program should accept 2 numbers and an operator from the console and output the result of the operation. Okay, let's go and try to do that. Let's say public. So public void calculator. So let's say this is a static method. Let's make it static. And it accepts 2 numbers, so integer A, integer B. Let it actually be double. So if we try to divide this, I'm gonna need double A and double B, and an operator. So it will accept an operator here. So let it be a string. In the main method, we're gonna need a scanner. So scanner, and let's print out a message, enter two numbers. And this line will accept two numbers, so double A, so next should be next double. And the same would be, so next B, next double. And here we should accept an operator as well. And so let's print out system out, enter an operator. Right, now so it's going to be string, let's say operator, which is equal to scanner, next line. Okay, so here you can see we wrote these lines of code to accept values from the user in the console, and then in the further pass them to the method that we're going to create now. So first we will switch. We'll use switch case here. So switch operator switch operator so case 1. I mean case plus so case plus let's also create some variable double result that will store the result of our operation. So for case plus we're gonna have a result is equal to A plus B and break. For case minus we'll have result which is equal to A minus B and break. For case division we have result B equal to A divided by B, and for case multiplication we'll have result which is equal to A times B. Right. And let's let's say default non-valid math operator. Okay. Now let's call this method calculator from the main method, but before that we'll return result and change the return type to double. Right, let's call the method calculator. So here in the arguments we will pass a, b, and the operator that we will accept from the user. And also let's print out this good. Let's go and run this. So let's enter two numbers, 2 and 3. Alright, so we have a mistake in the program. Okay, instead of accepting the values from the user, let's directly specify the values that we want our program to execute. So 2, 3, and division. Let's go and run this. And we can see the result of the operation, so everything works fine. Now let me explain how this program works. So we have a method calculator that has parameters like AA, BB, and operator. So we declared a variable result that is initialized to 0. Then we have a switch operator here. That switch, this should actually be a sign. Let's say sign, and sign or whatever. So then we have cases here. So if the sign is plus, then this block of code is executed. So the result is assigned to a plus b, and the break command terminates the execution of the code block and goes to the return and returns the result to the calling code. In case we specify some random symbol, say semicolon, which is not a math operator, then we will get a non-valid sign message. You can see. And let's also try one more time. Let's say times 2 times 30 is 60. So yes, it works fine. It's correct. Alright, now let's go and write a for loop. Let's create a new class for that. Alright, so we're asked to write a program that prints all numbers from 1 to 100 that are divisible by 3. So for loops are used with the tasks that require to work with the repetitive execution of the code blocks. So in this case, let's say let's directly write, so for, this is the body, this is the syntax of the for loop. So let's start with the integer I, the initialization element. Here we're at the condition for the loop, so we want to print all the numbers from 1 to 100. So let's say we will start from 1. Condition I should be less than or equal to 100, and I plus plus. So here within the for loop we can write another condition. So if condition, so if a number, so if I is divisible by 3 without a remainder, then only then we will print out that number. So it means it should be 0, no remainder, and we can print out the I. But let me use printf here to better see. Alright. So the loop will start from the number 1 and will go up to 100, and with each iteration the I will be increased by 1, so I plus plus means I plus 1, and in each cycle the if condition will be checked, so it will check if I is divisible by 3. So if I divided by 3 has no remainder, then it means it's divisible by 3, and that number will be printed out to the screen. So let's go and run this. Now we can see all the numbers that are divisible by 3 from 1 to 100. Alright, so the next like I said, for repeats the execution of a code block for a certain number of times. In this specific example, we start from 1, go up to 100, and increment I by 1 in each iteration. So iteration is a single execution of a code block. Cycle is a programming structure that allows us to execute a block of code repeatedly. So let's go to the next task. Implement a program that accepts a number n from the console and calculates the sum of all numbers from 1 to n inclusive. So let's create a scanner. Scanner, new scanner, system in. And now let's declare a variable integer num, and let's make it equal to scanner next integer. So the value that a user inputs in the console will be assigned to the variable num of the type integer. And now we want to calculate the sum. For example, if user enters 10, then it means we want 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 inclusive. So we want to know the result of this operation, like it says in the task. So we start from the initialization. We initialize the starting point in our loop. So we will start from 1. So this is the minimum number. From 1, and the condition is from 1 to the number n. So now let's call this n. To n. And we'll increment by 1. Okay, so now let's create a variable sum to store the result of the operation, and in each iteration we will add the value of I to the sum. Right. And in the end we'll print out the results. So from n to this actually should be from 1 to n. let's go and run this. We can see. But before that, let's print out the message. Enter number. Let's go and run this. So let's say 10. And we can see the sum of all numbers from 1 to 10 is 55. So, correct. Alright, so let's go and execute. Let's write a program that prints the multiplication table for a number entered by the user. Let me get rid of this. We are asked to write, so we're asked to accept the input from the user. So here we implemented a scanner in the previous program. So scanner, enter number, and the user will enter number. So let's go and write the method. Public static void multiplication table. And let's say it accepts some arguments. It has a signature, integer, some number, and so what we want is that we want to print out the table. So it means if the user enters number 6, then we want 6 times 1 is equal to 6, then 6 times 2 is equal to 12, and so on until until 6 times 10. So okay, let's start writing our for loop. So the first element is the start, so the initialization point, integer I, so we start from 1. The condition is we want to go until 10, so I is less than or equal to 10, and this increment be 1. Within the body of the loop, we want to directly print out the result. So let's say so the number plus, so we want to print out number times the I. So why I? Because I will start from 1 and it will go up to 10, so it will be number times 1, number times 2, number times 3, and so on, etc. And we also want to print out the result here. So the result will be number times I. So now all we need to do is to call the method from the main function, the main method. So the name of the method is multTable, and in arguments we pass the variable and the value that we accepted from the user. So let's go and run this. So let's say 6. And here we get 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12. And so it looks correct to me. Alright. So the next we come to while tasks. So we're asked to write a program that takes a number from the console and prints its factorial using while. Okay. So let's create a new class. New class while. And directly implement the main method. So factorial is some number. Let's say, for example, 6 factorial, or let's take 3 factorial is something like 3 times 2 times 1. So this is the multiplication of the numbers. Or let's say 6 factorial. It's 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So this is called the factorial. So the multiplication of the numbers. Now let's go and implement this. So we will ask a user to input a number. So here we implement a scanner that will allow us to accept some values from the user. Now let's create a variable. So factorial, and next integer, and also let's print out some message. Enter number. And then we print. Okay, so in order to do this, let's create a method. Public static void. So calculate factorial. Okay. And so let's say it accepts our value, so we would be able to call it from the main method using the value that our user entered. So let's say factorial. And here let's implement a while loop. So while repeats the execution of a loop body of a loop body while the condition is true. So here we will specify the condition. So let's say while factorial is greater than 0, and also let's write integer result to store the result of our operation. Let's assign it to 1. And now here we will implement, so the result will be equal to, we can also write it like in the short form, times equal to factorial. And then we will deduce factorial by 1, so we can write minus minus. This means factorial minus 1. And this one means that the result will be equal to result times factorial. Okay. And then let's say we want to print out the result. Let's just say result, and we'll print out result. Good. Now let's call the method from. Let's call this method from the main method. So the name of the method is calc factorial, and it accepts an argument. So factorial. Let's go and run this. So let's say we want to calculate factorial of 4. So 4 times 3, 12, 12 times 2, 24. So it works correctly. Now let's try. Let's try factorial 10. So you can see the result here. In case if we want to print out some larger numbers, then we will have to use a long data type to avoid the overflow. So also we'll say long here, and this will be long. And now we can work with larger numbers. So let's say 50. We can see that the integer overflow occurred here. So even long is not enough. You can use double. You can try double. Double, and here in parameters accepts double. Let's try again. Say 50, and here we can see the result. So it's 3 to the power of 64. So it uses a scientific representation of the numbers. Okay, fine. Now the next program should implement a program that prints all even numbers from 1 to the number entered by the user. Okay, so let's say public static void, let's call it print even. And the program accepts some number from the user. The method accepts a number from the user and then prints out all the even numbers. To do that, we can again write a while loop. So the difference between a while loop and for loop is that we don't have to specify exactly how many iterations will be in the loop body, in the body of the loop. Instead we can just specify the condition, and as long as that condition is true, the code of block will be executed. The block of code will be executed, sorry. While a number is divisible by 2 without a remainder, means that a number is sorry, let's skip this. Let's say the main condition here will be while number is greater than 0. And within while, let's write another condition. So if number is divisible by 2 without a remainder, then we will print out that number. So number, let's use normal print to print it all on the same line. And so every time we want to decrement the value of num by 1. So what the task is that we want to print all the numbers from 1 to the number entered by the user. Right. Okay, so let's try to run this and see the result. So we'll accept a number from the user, and then we'll call the method print even and pass the number as an argument. So let's change it to input. Pass it as input. So let it be integer. Now correct. So let's go and run this. Let's say 10. So we can see here 10 is even, 8 is even, 8, 6, 4, 2, so all the even numbers. So the program works correctly, but we're asked to print all the numbers from 1 to the number entered by user. So we can change the condition here. So we can say while while, okay, let's keep the condition while number is greater than 0. And alright, we can specify another variable here. So let's say integer even, which is equal to 0, let's say. And while num is greater than even, we will print out, let me remove this. So we will print out even. Let's remove this. And we will increment the even by 2, so plus equal to 2. Why we do that? Because even numbers are the numbers that are divisible by 2. So starting from 0, we'll add up to the number that user entered, and when the even will be greater than the number, the loop will be terminated and the program will finish. So let's try to run this and see what we got. So let's say again 10. Now we can see the program works. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Correct. Now let's go to the next task. We're asked to create a program that takes a positive number from the console and prints a countdown from that number to 1. Okay, so again we take a number and let's go and write another method. Public static void countdown. Let's say print count down, and it accepts it as a parameter some number that we will specify later in the main method. And let's say while loop, while that number is greater than 0, we want to print out the number, and plus to get some space here, and we will decrement the number by 1. So we're going to print out the sequence of numbers starting from the number from the num variable and up to 1. So in this case everything should work. Now let's go and call the method from the main method. So print countdown and the input as an argument. So let's say 10, and here we can see 10, 9, 8, 7, so we have a countdown here. Everything works correctly. Now let's go and create a new class, do while. So new class do while, and we're asked to write a program that prompts the user for a number and continues to prompt until the number entered is positive. So let's go and directly create that in the main function. So we can use scanner. Let's implement scanner. So new scanner, system in, and let's create a variable, again input, scanner next integer, to be able to accept a number from the user. And now let's create a do while. So do do. So let's say system out print line, enter a positive, enter a negative number to terminate. And let's change this to print. And let's say while the input is positive, we want to keep executing the loop. So we can take this line of code and put it inside of the loop. And let's try and run this. So we can see here the scope of the variable is within the main method. So we have to declare a variable outside of the loop, and then we can initialize it within the loop. So let's go here and say input is equal to scanner next integer. So let's go and run this. If we say 0, it will terminate. So we should say input is greater than or equal to 0. And let's print out some message after the program terminated. Alright, now we can run it again and see. So let's say some numbers, and the program terminated. So how does this program work? So we accepted a number from the user. So from the console, user inputs a number. Here the message is printed, and then user inputs a number. So the first part of the loop is executed regardless of the condition. So the condition is checked in the end of the first iteration. So iteration is a single execution of a code block, and so this part is always executed. So the first in the first cycle, this part is always executed, and then the condition is checked. If the condition is true, it continues the execution until the condition is false. Only then it breaks out of the loop and prints out the message program terminated. So in our case, if the number is negative, only then the loop will be terminated and the condition will not be satisfied, and this message will be printed. Alright, so the next task is to implement a program that prompts the user for a password until he enters the correct one. Right. So again, let's remove this part, and let's specify a password, string password, and let it be 1234. A good password. So then write a do while. So I would say system out print line enter password. And here first we have to specify the variable outside of the scope. I mean so that the scope of the variable would be visible to the while condition. Let's say string input, and now here we can say input is equal to scanner to be able to accept the value, so the next line, and here we write our condition while the password is not true. We want to keep asking while the password is not, we can use equals here, equals to the password. I mean while the input so in order for this loop to be executed again, the password should be wrong. So in this case the program will ask a user to enter a password, then the password will be accepted, and that password that the user entered will be checked to the password that we already specified here, so 1234, and if it's not, the input is not equal to the password, so we can see here the exclamation mark means that not, it means the opposite. So if it's not equal to the password, then we will ask the user again the password until the user enters the password correctly, and only then let's write here access granted. So only then we will allow the user to only then we will give the access to the user. So let's go and run this. So we remember the password is 1234, so let's try to enter a wrong password, and then again it says, even if we say 1324, now the password is correct and we have an access. Right. So the only difference between a while loop and do while loop is that the first part of the body, so the do part, is executed at least once in the beginning of the program, regardless of the condition. So the next, let's create a program that prints number from 1 to 10 but uses do while loop. Okay. Let's remove this. Let's say input integer, and let's also remove the condition. So in the beginning we want to accept the value from the user. Actually, in this case, we don't need an input, so we can skip this part. We want to print out numbers from 1 to 10. So let's create a variable integer. Let's call it x, which is equal to 1. And then within the body of the loop, we'll say print out the x, and give some space. I want to print it on the same line, so we'll use print here, and we will increment x by 1. So we want to print out numbers from 1 to 10, and the condition here will be, so while x is less than or equal to 10. Right. So while x is less than or equal to 10, let's go and run this. Let's say the program terminated. Let's run this. So we can see the numbers from 1 to 10. Let's get rid of this and run again. From 1 to 10. So yes, correct. Now let's go to the last task, so break and continue. So we're asked to write a program that asks the user for numbers and prints their sum. If the user enters a negative number, the program breaks. Okay. So let's go and create a new class. Say break and continue. So we want to have two numbers. We want user to enter two numbers and give their sum while the numbers are positive. So let's create a main method and implement scanner. So the name of the scanner keyword new to call the constructor scanner, and we'll specify system in, and so let's assign it to the variable integer, say integer a, scanner dot next integer, and let's use b. Let's have two variables, so let's also print out the message. So enter two numbers. Enter two numbers. Correct. And then let's create a condition. So if if a is less than 0, or if b is less than 0, then we'll break. Let's go and create a method. So public static void sum. So it accepts two parameters, integer a and integer b, and here we'll put our if statement. So if a is negative, or if either of a or b is negative, then the program will break. Otherwise, it will print out their sum, so a plus b. Let's go and try to run this. So we have an error here: Java break, outside switch, or loop. Okay, so we have to write it within while loop, and so let me use a do while instead of this. So let me try to take this. So let's say do while do let's actually write it in the main method. So let's remove this. And let's say do. Alright, so let me take this, enter two numbers, enter two positive numbers, and let's say alright, so let's say we want to enter two positive numbers within a do while loop and return their sum. So let's say if if a is less than 0 or b is less than 0, it means that either one of the entered numbers is negative. Then in this case we want to break out of the loop, else we will return their sum. So system out, print line a plus b, and it will be within an infinite loop. We could actually also use it, use the normal while here instead of do while. So we have a loop here. We have a rule for break. We cannot use breaks outside of the loop, so it should be within the loop, like while, for, or do while, and only then we can use the keyword break. So let's go and run this. And let's also print out the message here. So to do that, we're going to use the curly braces. Let's take this break and print out the program terminated. And let's say the program crashed. And let's run it again. Let's make it print so that it will be on the same line. So 1 and 3, 2 and 4. We can also, so let's make it negative 1, 3. So the program crashed. Right. We could also print out a message here. Actually, we could write the sum. And let's run it again. Now it looks better. So 2, 3, minus 1, minus 2. So the program crashed. Alright. So as I said, break here, the break command break is used to terminate the execution of the current loop. So they regardless. So whatever comes after the break, if the program enters this block of code, then the message is printed, the program is crashed, and the break keyword breaks out of the loop, so breaks out of the infinite loop that we specified here, and terminates the program. So the next task is we're asked to create a program that prints numbers from 1 to 20, skipping those that are divisible by 3. Okay, so let's remove this. And also this. So we don't need this. Let's comment this. So we are asked to create a program that prints numbers from 1 to 20, skipping those that are divisible by 3. So let's create a variable here, integer number. Let's set it equal to 20. Actually, let's make it equal to 1 and put it outside of the loop so that it will be visible to the while. And let's say while number is less than or equal to 20. And within the loop, so within the loop, we will specify an if statement. So if number is divisible by 3 without a remainder, then we will skip this part. So we will say continue. Otherwise, we print out the number and increment a number by 1. Right. We could also use a for loop here. So let me first run it on the while loop, then I will show the alternative version. So here we have a problem. Let's write it in the for loop. So let's say for integer I, which is equal to 1, and say while I is less than or equal to 20, increment I by 1. Let's remove this. So we have a condition. If I is divisible by 3 without a remainder, then we will skip that iteration and jump into the next one. And we want to print I. So here we can see we were asked to create a program that prints numbers from 1 to 20, and those numbers that are divisible by 3 are skipped. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, those are skipped thanks to the command continue that allows us to to skip the current iteration. So in this case, if I is divisible by 3 without a remainder, then that iteration is skipped. So whatever comes after this continue, so this is ignored, and the I is increased by 1, and it starts the execution of the next iteration. Right, so now let's write a program that prints the first 10 numbers that are divisible by both 2 and 5. Use break to terminate the loop, and 10 numbers have been found. Okay, so let's go and create a program from scratch. So we were asked to print the first 10 numbers that are divisible both by 10 and that are divisible both by 2 and 5. Use break to terminate the loop when 10 numbers have been found. So let's use a for loop for integer I is equal to 0, say to 1, and the condition is let's say I. Let's create a counter. I will explain why. Count is equal to 0. So our condition will be, so while count is less than or equal to 10. So we want 10 numbers, and by the end of each iteration the I will be incremented by 1. So now let's go and write the body of the loop. So we will write an if statement. So if I is divisible by 2 without the remainder, and so we can use these ampersand symbols to specify the second condition that has to be satisfied in order for this block of code to be executed. So I %5 is, so I is divisible by 5 without a remainder. Right, now we can print out that number. So we will print out I. So I, and increase the counter by 1, because we want to keep track of the numbers. So we want first 10 numbers and then terminate the program. Okay, let's go and run this. So we can see the first 10 numbers. So it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we should say while count is less than 10. Let's go and run this. Now we have 10 numbers. But let's rewrite this program using break. So in order to do that we can use let's rewrite this using an infinite loop so that we could use a break command. Let me take this and initialize it outside. So integer I is equal to 1. So as you can see now, this becomes an infinite loop. And say I++. And then we will add another condition. So if count is greater than 10, then we will terminate this program and use break. Let's go and run this. So as you can see, the same result here, but we just changed our program a little bit. Right, so everything works fine, correctly. So this for loop with no conditions mean that we have an infinite loop here, and then the condition, the first condition is if the count is greater than 10, then the loop is terminated. If not, then this block of code is ignored and the second condition is checked. And if it's correct, then this block of code is executed. So if the number is divisible by 2 and 5 without a remainder, then we print out that value of I and increment count by 1. And in the end of the cycle, we increment I by 1 so that we could keep going from 1 to 100. So that is it. Thank you for watching. I think, yes, that is the last task. Thank you for watching, and I see you in the next one.